can start.
So I just start.
Mhm.
Are you on?
Mhm.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on unlocking the power of coupons. My name is Steve Smith. I head up our UK business, and I'm your host for today. Firstly, I'd like to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us. We do hope that you find this session both stimulating and insightful. I'm afraid before we get started, I need to cover off some housekeeping. Please, first of all, make sure your microphones are muted to avoid any distraction for our presenters. There will be a Q&A session at the end, so if any of you have questions as we go through the presentation today, please use the chat at the bottom of your screens. If you do encounter any technical issues, please email us at info@savi.co.uk. We will put that address into the chat, so you have that. Today's session is being recorded and it will be available after the meeting, so no need to scribble down notes. You'll have all the content for your perusal and light reading afterwards. At the end of today, there will be a short survey, which we would greatly appreciate you taking a few minutes to complete. Firstly, just to let us know how you think today went, and secondly, more importantly, what other content would you like us to cover in the future? Okay. Boring stuff out of the way. So shortly, I'll be handing over to our two industry experts to take you through the session, Ian Steen and Phillip Adcock, who have a combined 70 years worth of experience. So I'm sure we're all going to learn a few things today from both those two. Firstly, Ian Steen, Business Development Director at Savi. He has extensive experience working with both retailers and brands, particularly in marketing incentives, where he's got deep expertise within couponing. Ian's going to take you through a bit of a history on coupons, why they're still relevant today, exploring their versatility, along with many of the benefits that they bring both brands, retailers and shoppers. Importantly, he'll be finishing up on how best to plan your future campaigns. Then we'll be handing over the reins to Phillip Adcock. We are really delighted that he's joining us today. Phillip's a leading expert within consumer psychology and behaviour, and he advises global brands on optimising marketing and retail strategies. Phillip will be talking to you about the psychology behind shoppers and sharing how to leverage those insights when building great campaigns. Before I hand over, just wanted to give you a quick overview of Savi. So Savi is formerly Velasys. We've got a long history in coupons. We've been going through a big digital transformation over the last couple of years, investing heavily into digital and mobile solutions. Essentially, our mission is to make sure that marketing incentives work for everyone, and we do that by connecting shoppers, brands, and retailers. We enable brands to set up and distribute impactful marketing campaigns. We enable shoppers to access and redeem those offers. And for retailers, we enhance the shopping experience, giving value to their own shoppers, as well as driving footfall and sales. Savi's spread across 5 European countries: UK, Germany, Italy, Spain, and Poland. And we work across many verticals. And more importantly, we are trusted by some of the leading brands and retailers that we work with. Without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Ian to give you a bit of an overview of everything to do with coupons.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Ian Steen. Thanks to Steve for the very generous introduction. I have been around a few years with Savi, which was previously known as Velasys, 15 years now, but I've experienced about 40 odd years in working with retailers and brands. I'm going to take you through, first of all, the history of coupons, And probably surprise a few of you to find out that the first coupon we can trace goes back as far as 1888 and was issued, and that's an important term, issued, because we still use it today, by the Coca-Cola Company. It was for a free glass of Coca-Cola and free glasses that you're allowed to keep, which were very popular and are still traded in the US. We believe as many as 1 in 9 Americans actually used that offer. Suffice to say that it didn't really take off in a great way after Coca-Cola made a success of it, and we had to wait till about 1909 to find the next one that was available, and it was issued by a newspaper on behalf of a supplier called Grape Nuts, which I don't think we've seen here. The big breakthrough and trend breaker was Betty Crocker, which is a very popular brand in the US, where you could actually save coupons and vouchers up and trade them in against kitchenware. Through to 1957, this is an image of our American parents, Nielsen Clearinghouse. To this day, we're still known as Nielsen Clearinghouse, and that's our registered name. We then move on to the popularity of coupons in the UK, and that basically came through about 1970. Now, in those days, the coupons were issued primarily through newspapers and didn't have barcodes on them. The first barcode that went through a till in this country was the 26th of July 1974. So until then, anything that was issued and redeemed at a retailer came back to us, and it was manually processed. In the UK, coupon usage grew to around 500 million. It peaked in 2013. And then the next big breakthrough was what we would term our first digital coupon. We brought technology in from from our parent company in the US, and it was a print-at-home coupon that could be sent by email, and the recipient then had to print it either at home or in the office. As you can tell, the usage of those print-at-home coupons has diminished quite dramatically. And where we are today, in 2022, we conducted our first trials on a coupon that could be sent again either by email or more recently SMS, and captured and opened on a mobile device. So why are coupons relevant? Basically, consumers like them. We do regular checks, and we get the feedback we get that consumers like them. They won't affect the shelf price, which the RRP has been set, and I'm sure has been quite difficult to put in place over the last couple of years of inflation. So it doesn't affect the RRP from a brand viewpoint, or indeed a retailer viewpoint. It's focused to boost sales promotions. It's a very effective way also to collect first-party and customer behaviour. It gives out good measurable return on investment with some actionable insights. It can still be used multi-channel distribution, and it's quick and easy to set up. It's a very cost-efficient route to reach consumers. So why are coupons still relevant to shoppers? We handle about 85% of brand-issued coupons in the UK. They come back to us from retailers, and our calculation is that that covers that percentage. The cost of living over the last few years has made 64% of shoppers spend more in store on groceries than they did last year. But just 9% of people are actually buying more items. So 69% actively are looking for coupons. Well, they're not looking for coupons, they're looking for discounts. And coupons happen to be fairly high on their visibility. 87% of UK shoppers use coupons. 72% would try if a new brand offered a coupon. Now we move to Gen Z, and only 60% polled would switch supermarkets to redeem a coupon, which is a very interesting stat. 60% of them prefer mobile coupons to printed ones. I don't think there's any surprise in that. And then 87% of UK adults own a smartphone. We believe there are over 83 million mobile phones in the UK. So what's next for coupons? Mobile coupons are now a key element of shopping in store. That's our prediction. That's why we've been gearing up for 3-4 years to make this. Should emphasize at this point, we will only enter into the market with a coupon that is secure, because that has been our standby all these years. Secure and easy usage at retailer. So it basically gives you off on mobile phones. I can't think of many people who leave home these days without their mobile device, and it lends itself to being able to be used in store as and when you want it. Okay. So the benefits of mobile coupons. From a brand viewpoint, that we have far more control over a campaign with real-time insights. We didn't have that with paper. We had to wait until redemption figures start to come in. It's more secure from fraud at this stage. Barcode technology and countdown timers, including devices with ID limits on them. It gives off enhanced data and insights to measure sales and engagement to reach the ROI capability. It also has a retail media enabler, which means we can enable a campaign for a specific retailer far easier than we can using paper in the past. Key benefits, obviously, increases sales and footfall, shopper convenience, turning shoppers into consumers is the main word here. It has a proven return on investment. It's data-driven and data capture. It's a greener solution, and it reaches audiences that are harder to target. Just a very quick background on a major coupon campaign that we ran at the turn of the year with our client Coca-Cola, and it was to emphasize zero sugar. And they were looking to target and grow existing Gen Z audience. What they did was they targeted the use of this with a coupon directly through 3,000 Tesco stores. Campaign was called Take a Test, and originally it was an augmented reality digital campaign, ran nationally, enabled 30 fans to claim a coupon at the end of it. 57% of Gen Z would now choose the zero product. It was 17 times higher activated than a print version would have been. Our activations to redemptions came in about 68%, and most recently it's won 2 awards. Just last week it won a gold award at the Grocer Gold Awards. 2 weeks prior to that, it won a silver award at the Drum Awards. So we're very pleased on every aspect of this campaign. So the versatility of coupons. There's still a place for print. Print has been around for 6,000 years, right? And people keep predicting print is going to disappear. We find in the independent trade in the UK, along with vouchers passed to independent retailers to use in wholesale cash and carry, paper is by far, and I'll accelerate this or exaggerate it by saying over 90% of vouchers sent out by paper are the ones that are used in cash and carry by independent retailers. So just to show you that it's not a complete move to digital. Certainly on the consumer side, we're seeing vast swathes, but not on the actual independent retailer side of it. Where we're also seeing increased usage is in consumer care. Two reasons: fast resolution and very cost efficient. If a consumer gets a product and complains, then the issue around this revolves that what is the most cost efficient way to resolve the complaint. You can send out samples, and I'll give you an example. I bought some lager, a case of lager, about a year ago. One of the cans was completely empty. Won't go into why that happened, but that happened. So I thought I'll follow this through complaint. About 4 weeks later, I got a complete case, 12 cans, dispatched to me from New York. I can't even think of how much that cost. What we've got here, initially using print on demand, where you could send a coupon to a consumer to print and use in store of their choice. What we're now moving to quite quickly, and we will be running some field trials on this in the very near future, replacing the print at home version with a secure version sent to a mobile device to take into the store of their choice to replace the product that they complained about. Low cost, trackable, very flexible distributions. So, planning your campaign. I've been dying to say this. Some things don't change. The planning is still the same. Starts off with a brand or activation team working with an agency, an activation agency, advertising, a gaming agency, and if and when it's decided it includes a coupon, what's the activation method of getting that out to the consumer? Whether it's paper or digital, that planning part doesn't change greatly. What does change is the number of coupons redeemed at the retailer. Currently, the paper is sent to us for us to process. What that means is that we manually handle the paper, scan the barcodes, we pay the retailer in extra quick time, and we charge the brand at the end of each month for the number that have gone through. The big change here is with the move to digital, no paper comes in. What that means is that we have to automatically pick up the redemptions direct from either a data stream or directly from retailers' tills. We do the same thing. We validate and protect it. We still reimburse the retailers. We produce and analyze data a lot faster for brands, brand managers, activation teams, agencies to analyze. And then it comes back again to planning. So you can probably see from that, there's not a great deal of change. It all happens in the background. So when you're planning a campaign, objective, budget, audience, distribution, retailers, T&Cs. If you would like some help, we have a coupon briefing sheet. Please feel free just to email us and ask us to send you one. It's like a checklist. It makes sure that you've copied, you've basically checked off and covered all items that you need. There are also some standard coupon terms and conditions at the back of that. We have very recently produced a new standard version for mobile, because obviously they don't go on the reverse of the coupon. But please feel free to request this early in your planning. So, coupon essentials. Whether it's paper or whether it's a mobile device, we need a good clear pack shot, high res if possible. We want the product name and offer. The retailer, if it's a retailer specific, and the T and C's to go with it. The Savi logo will go on. The security features are print versus digital to consider. And then we put a barcode on. And the barcode is still a standard EAN 13. We expect EAN 13s to be around for at least another 5 to 6 years. Although there is a move towards changing to very similar 2-level American styles. But that's what we need. And the reason for that, whether it's paper or whether it's a digital, if it's a till operator in store, they need to be able to see at a glance that the product you've purchased matches up to the coupon. And so we make everything as clear and possible because we want you through, or we're asked by retailers and the operations director to make sure you're through the tills as quickly as possible. So, when planning your offer, again, this has not changed, right? The level of discount is the #1 factor and criteria you need to consider. The breadth of the offer, i.e. how many retailers are you going to cover? Its availability in store. For instance, if it's a new product launch, it might not be available in all 3,000 Tesco stores, maybe only 400 of them. That is a factor that we need to build in. How are you going to target it, right? If you can share that with us, we can actually get to a more accurate figure. The last one, and I term it as desirability, and I'll give it a very simple term here. The difference between money off alcohol, for instance, or a free soft drink, compared with maybe £1 off mouthwash, is far-ranged. So you would expect a higher level of redemption. If you have those things to hand when you're planning, and you would like some help from us to calculate and reach an estimated budget, please feel free to contact us. We can talk this through with you over the phone, or just send you an estimator document with those details on it. Okay? That basically is the basic planning area around coupons that we've used for 50 years, and we seem still to be using them now. On the right-hand side, you can see the coupon analysis dashboard. That is available when you're on a campaign, and you'll be able to look at that online and calculate how your campaign is performing a lot faster than in previous times. Good. So that's all the boring part over. History and basics. I'll pass you now to the exciting area with our behavioural expert, Phillip Adcock. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. This is going to be fast and furious. I've got 20 slides and just over 20 minutes. So we'll get straight into it. This is about the other side of the coin. This is the shopper themselves. So how do we understand the shopper to get more out of your coupons? And specifically, we're talking about shopper psychology and behavioural science. So who am I? Let's get this out of the way first. I've been studying shoppers and shopping and consumers for 25 years. Me and Ian have got quite a long time in this business. I've written 3 books for those of you who want to go digging: Supermarket Psychology, How to Be a Good Presenter, and How to Get More Out of Your Own Brain. I've often been called upon by the TV to explain how these big supermarkets are picking your pockets for your money. And more recently, since I sold a research business in 2019, I now share consultancy insights. I tell people how customers think. That's it. I've done it for long enough. I sort of understand some of it. So we'll start with the model we use to get into the brain now. This is the psychology of see, appeal, engage, and buy. So we have different parts of the brain, different brains. This is an illustration. So the oldest brain, that's 300 million years old. Sorry, creationists, but it is. And that controls your heart and your breathing, basically keeps you alive. Then as we evolved and crawled out of the swamps, we developed the second brain, which is the limbic system. That's the emotional brain, which is very important to marketing, couponing, and promotions generally. And finally, the bit that sets us apart from other animals is we have the modern brain, which is the neocortex. So all three of these brains, they're not actually separate brains, they're part of the same brain, work together to create what we call the buying brain. It's the ultimate path to purchase. So you need to communicate with all three in the right order to optimize the performance of your marketing interventions. So here's an example of how this works. So there, that dot on the left represents everybody that could respond to your, let's say, coupon in this example. Of those that could respond, only some will see it. Some won't see it. Of those that see it, it will appeal to some, and of those, some will engage. And finally, of those that engage with it, some will buy. Now, most of you are studying data on a daily, if not weekly basis, and what we tend to focus on more than anything is sales data. Yeah, if we focus on see, appeal, and engage, sales will go up by themselves. So here's the first bit of psychological insight coming up and things we can do to improve see, appeal, and engage. Firstly, Santander typically had a 6-week promotional cycle. They'd have posters in branch windows for 6 weeks. When we analysed how frequently people went past, they went past daily or weekly. So within a couple of passings by of the window, they'd completely given up looking at this poster. They'd seen it, filtered it, processed it, and then ignored it. So the simple recommendation was, after a couple of weeks, just change the colour scheme of your campaign. Same campaign, change the colour scheme. And when we did that and measured footfall in the branches, it increased by an amazing 25%. That's a huge, huge increase. Next example is, we're talking about coupons. This is the paper. We did a lot of work on catalogues. And did you know that the thickness of the paper in a catalogue page changes the perception of the quality people have of the products displayed on it? You can go as far as to cheat and just put a thick cover on a catalogue, and people think the quality of the products inside and the brand on the cover is better. So don't do what the likes of Sainsbury's do and have these till roll things kicking out really cheap, slim, thin paper. If you use better quality stock, people think more of your brand and your products. The next one, I love this one. This is really nice. This is lovely statistics that we often forget. 67% of adults wear corrective eyewear. As you can see, Ian and I are wearing corrective eyewear, of which 11% wear contact lenses. Now, for 20 odd years, we used to film shoppers, analyze their behavior in store and capture lots of metrics. One of the metrics we captured was how many people were wearing glasses, and it rarely exceeded 30%. So you've got quite a lot of people walking around supermarkets who can't actually read the small print. Some of them can't actually read the big print. So give a thought to how big your print is so it's legible, not how much stuff you have to get on the pack, coupon, or whatever. Make sure it's readable. And here's another one from coupons, but it's some from food. Again, from research, when we're buying our food to go, our lunch, food for now, did you know that we buy the food in the order we're going to eat it? So we'll buy the savoury before the sweet and the drink. So in this instance, it's very important to understand where is the promotion for the coupon, and the actual product to get in the store if it's in a store. It needs to flow in a way that's natural and logical to the shopper so that they can follow it through. I mean, to give an example from gondola ends, it's very rarely any good to have a gondola end for a product after the core category, because how gondola end works is they act as aide memoire to visit the category itself. So we're going to move on to appeal now. This is the power of emotion. Very, very powerful. We are an emotional species. If you talk to shoppers about how they make purchasing decisions, why they buy things, they'll give you rational reasons why. But the hard fact is that we are an emotional species. Every decision we make every day starts with emotion. That's it. I'll give you some statistics on the next slide. So we have to go after the emotional reasons people buy. They may buy for happiness, pride, joy, courage, affection, to avoid embarrassment, to avoid stupidity and avoid guilt. These are all emotional reasons. So when you have your coupon, what is the emotion you're actually going after? You feel good if you save money. You feel good if you have a special offer, even if it's only a cent off $200 purchase. These things affect us emotionally. I'm saving, I'm getting something for nothing. It makes my brain feel good. We'll talk about neurotransmitters in a minute. Go after guilt. How people can feel guilt-free. It's a powerful lever to get people to buy products if it alleviates guilt. The links effect, that's how to get more mates, dare I suggest. Tina just thinks so anyway. And then don't miss out, fear of missing out. It's a cognitive bias. We'll look at those in a bit. And finally, tools we can do that alter how people think about your promotions. So the rule of 100 there is, if it's more than £100, use pounds off. If it's less than £100, use percentage off, because the number will be bigger. And we'll look at numbers a little later on. So here's the statistics. Emotions, they are 3,000 times faster to process in our brains and 24 times more persuasive than rational thought. So think about that. That's much quicker. We make an emotional decision. It's then very hard for our rational brains to say, no, I don't want that. And certain cues and proof that how this works as follows. The heart shape, really powerful emotional lever. You put a heart shape onto your in-store communications, your marketing, people will pay more attention to it because it's emotional. They do. Another tool you can use for emotion is Coca-Cola famously put people's names on the bottles of Coke. And apparently when they first did this in Australia, they sold 23 million bottles of Coke in a country that contained 8 million people. So it's a really effective way if you do it right, unlike what Asda did. Asda had massive displays in their store reception areas with all these Coke bottles with people's names on. People went in looking for their names, and it looked like a nuclear explosion when they'd finished. It just became an absolute mess. So emotion is powerful if done right. The next one, Toblerone gets this. They fully understand this. It's about the emotional reason people buy your products. So they now actually put things on their products that aren't the product name. Laughing, sharing, togetherness. Sell the emotion, and then the product sells itself. And Toblerone are very, very good at that. We talked Ian talked about smartphones, and there's lots of research going on now about smartphones, and they are much more than a phone. They are a powerful communication tool. They're an extension of ourselves. So smartphones, they get involved with our cognition, our memory, our attention, emotional behavior, and learning. And all these things adjust the levels of neurotransmitters in our brain. And neurotransmitters are addictive. If you can get dopamine, oxytocin going around the brain, it's really good to your brain. It's more powerful than cocaine, they say. Again, mobile phone, it can buzz in your pocket. It's sensory stimuli. It can ring, you can hear it. You've got your own personal ringtone. It's saying something about you. So it's a really powerful extension of yourself. And it backs up and supports pleasure and reward-seeking behaviors. They can get addictive because neurotransmitters are addictive in themselves. It's like drug addiction, and they're very emotional and perception. So what we're doing now is we're putting coupons onto these devices, which are, as I said, an extension of ourselves, are far more than a literal electrical box. They are, you know what it's like if you lose your phone. You can't stand it. You feel connected. It is a piece of you. So suddenly when you receive a message through a piece of you, it's more relevant, more meaningful, more personal. And that's where coupons can go in the future. I think they'll go a lot further in this way. So it's no longer just devices. Let's give you a few facts about mobile phones, because they are so interwoven into shopper psychology, consumer psychology. It's quite unbelievable. So a few years ago, mobile phones, believe it or not, for those that are old enough to remember, had batteries. I was involved in electrical retail, and we took the batteries off so people couldn't steal them in the stores. That made the phone lighter. People thought the phones were much worse quality because they were too light. So if something's heavier, you think it's more quality, it's more meaningful, it's more important. I think still to this day, Bang & Olufsen remote controls on your high-end hi-fi have got a piece of lead in them just to make it heavier, so it feels better quality. Any phone content, because it's coming through this extension of yourself, is much more emotional. Remember the stats about emotion? 3,000 times faster, 24 times more persuasive. So if we can get these messages about our brand through the mobile phone, they are more emotional. Or there is some research going on at the moment that says people trust it less if it comes to mobile. We're still looking into that. It's even got a name. Nomophobia. There we go. That's what smartphones are all about. It's nomophobia. I'll leave that there. And here's where we go mobile phones. This lovely piece of research was done relatively recently. And what they had, some people going into a room to take part in an experiment. And at the table at the end of the room was the bottles there of Coke and Pepsi. And people just asked to leave their mobile phone on the table so that it didn't involve them when they didn't distract them when they got involved with the tests. They did this. What they found was just about everybody leaves their phone by the drink they prefer. So if they prefer Coke, they left their phone by the bottle of Coke. If they prefer Pepsi, they left the Pepsi. So that is the subtle power emotional mobile phones have over everything we do with our brains. It's I don't know where it's going to go, but it's quite astonishing. It's hard to engage. I did say this was going to be fast and furious, so we'll hang on. We're now going to talk about cognitive biases. This is the way our brains are flawed. There's actually more than 140 biases, but obviously not going to do that today. We're going to do 2 or 3 to get you thinking. A cognitive bias is a way our brain handles the fact that there's too much going on around it to think about. There's too much information. There's too many sensory inputs coming in. My brain can't cope. Your brain can't cope. So it really does struggle. So what we do with our brains is we create these shortcuts. We have what we call system 1, which is fast and furious. It takes shortcuts. It's just the easiest way to think about something. I'm just going to do it. That's the way it does it. And then we have system 2, which is slow and more deliberate. That's the brain we should use to make decisions, but it's much more memory hungry. System 1 is much easier for our brains, so we tend to do it, and that's why we make bad decisions and we suffer these cognitive biases. An interesting couple of statistics is that our brain takes up 2% of our body weight, about. Our brain uses 20% of our energy. So what I like to say to people is, if you want to lose weight, think about it. Here's the first cognitive bias. Hyperbolic discounting. Sorry, terrible name. This is very relevant to couponing. Basically, we prefer immediate rewards. So if I said, do you want a box of chocolates immediately or a bit late, or in a year's time, you want the small box of chocolates now as opposed to a big box of chocolates later on. If I readjust the time scale and say, do you want the small box of chocolates in a week and the large box of chocolates in a year and a week, suddenly they're both in the future, they're in the distance. I'll go for the big box because there's not much difference. So immediate reward trumps longer term gain. Same if I did with money, just dollars. So if I said, here's $50 now or $100 in 6 months, most people would go for the $50 now. If we reframe it, $50 in 3 months or $100 in 9 months, exactly the same gap, most people go for $100 in 9 months. So this is a bias. It's not practical, it's not logical. Why do we do it? Because in the old days, our ancestors might not live for the big box of chocolates in a year or the extra money. They die. Fight, flight, find a mate. So our brains still think like this. It's the immediacy effect. And to show this in action in retail, again for electrical retail, we have a proven tool in electrical retail. If we've got some product we need to get out of the door and sell off quick, we have a tool we use in stock, take home today from bricks and mortar retail. As soon as you put that on a product, on average, sales go up 40%. That's the power of immediate gain. And that's what we can do with it. So the next bias, loss aversion. Again, this is important to couponing. So our brains fear loss twice as much as they feel the pleasure of gain. So losses hurt more than gains are nice. That would have kept us alive back in the day, because if we're going to lose our life, that's more important than anything. So we might have got an extra mate or an extra meal, but it's more important to stay alive. So that's why loss aversion is believed to have evolved. So you can say to somebody, here's a £5 voucher. They're giving you £5. Or you can say, here's a way to save £5. Same message. But psychologically, it's much better to do the latter, because in somebody's brain, it feels twice as valuable as the gain £5. Couple more here. First of all, we have scarcity. So if you start limiting the amount of coupons people have or goes they can have in a competition, it's the toilet paper effect in the pandemic. Suddenly, if you restrict it, it all runs out. This one here is maximum 3 cucumbers on one trip to the supermarket. I don't know anybody who's bought more than 3 cucumbers on one trip to the supermarket, but there you go. And the next one now is urgency. Urgency is another good one. So when we have these offers in store and promotions and competitions, they have an end date, which is hidden at the bottom somewhere, or it's in code, like on say 50p one there, so that only the store staff can understand when the end date is. That's completely wrong. Because again, looking at fear of missing out, FOMO, you should shout it. Offer must end Saturday, ends soon, sale ends tomorrow, all these things. But they don't do it. So I don't know why that is, because it's false economy. Make a big thing about when your offer ends. If any of you have walked down Oxford Street recently, you always see some stores closing down sale. The same thing will be there in a year's time, because they're not actually closing down very quickly. So use urgency. Then we have the mere exposure effect. This one is about the more time you see the same thing, the more familiar it becomes, and the easier it is for you mentally think about it, ergo, the more you like it. So here's some proper old-fashioned graphs. These people are shown words. It was showing the words cheese, feces, leather, the word blank, lilac, shampoo, another one. And you can see that each time, when they're shown it more times, everyone is seen as more pleasant, even feces, apart from cheese. I don't know what cheese has done wrong, but there you go. And the same thing for familiarity. After 6 viewings of the same thing, you're more familiar with it. Each process, you like it more. So when you're having a campaign in a store or online, have a strategy, a process. The more times you can show shoppers the consistent message, the more familiar they become, the more they like it. So you've got the entrance, maybe, you've got the security guard covers over the scanners on the exit. You've got the end caps, gondola ends, promotional areas themselves, secondary sites, and the main aisle. Use it as a storyboard to tell a story along a consistent route. And it's a powerful way to get people to engage more with your product, and you're using the mere exposure effect. So what about buy? Move on to the buy side of it. We've actually put people in a brain scanner, put them in this brain scanner, and we scanned their brains as they looked at different special offers. So we thought, how is the brain working with these different special offers? And we found out some very interesting things. So for example, if you use the word half price or free, it's processed by the reward center, the older brain, the emotional brain can't read, it processes it. So these are really powerful to the brain. Oh, it's half, it's free, I want it, I'm going to have it. Conversely, if you have any 2 for £3, £1 each, or 4 for £6, they're processed by a different part of the brain, by the neocortex. So think about it. If your message is stronger than your competitor and you want people to think about it, use some numbers. If it's weaker and you think, well, my offer is not as good as my competitor, go emotional, because then you can bypass reason altogether and people will miss out reason and go straight for the decision up to 3,000 times faster. Numbers. There's lots going on with numbers, as we've said. So if you add numbers to communication, which we all do, they have an impact on the shopper. We've had numbers, I think, for about 20,000 years and currency for about 5,000 years. Seeing as it takes the brain 30,000 years to evolve meaningful change, our brains can't naturally count yet. So what we do is we put numbers on an imaginary graph in our head. You'd all think this makes sense. You count down to the left, you count up to the right. High numbers are high, low numbers are low. So when you're putting numbers on a communication to not just shoppers, but even in negotiations with retailers, where do you put the numbers on the media? For example, there's a gift voucher with $100, but the 100's bottom left. So in the brains of the recipient, that's a small $100, just like this is a small Amazon £10 voucher, because it's bottom left. This is a bit better, 30% off, because at least it's halfway up now, but it's still on the left and it's not high. A pound off, that's a bigger pound because it's high now, as opposed to a low pound like the low 100. And 30% off, it's moving to the right, but down. These are now higher up in the middle still, so they're not right. So we're getting there. And say 50%, that's down on the right. It's a big 50%. And best of all, 20% top right. So this sounds silly. You're probably nodding your heads and tutting now, thinking my brain doesn't work like that. I promise you it does. This is how our brains do numbers. So it's all about marginal gains. The little changes you can make that make big differences to overall to shoppers. If you're going to communicate a message, why not apply all the psychology you can to make it as effective as you can without going too far into the realms of dark patterns and manipulation? So moving on now to a lovely experiment we like to do, and you can do this with other people. It's fantastic. So what we do is we get people in a room. This is the power of numbers and anchoring. And we ask them to bid for a copy of the book. And what they have to do is write on a piece of paper how much they would bid and the reference number we've given them. Now, the whole piece of this puzzle is the reference number. The reference number is what we use because we're going to anchor them. So half the room have a low reference number, 1 to 50. The other half have a high reference number. The only variable in this entire experiment is the size of the reference number. In this example here, which was done to 200 pharmaceutical directors, the average bid by the people with the low reference number was $8.23. Conversely, those with a high reference number, which is, I believe, up in the 8,000s, their average bid is $33. The only difference is the reference number. So you show people numbers, you will affect how they think about whatever it is you're talking to about them. So they're not just things to slap on a coupon or slap on a promotion. It's vitally important where you put them. We have in our database, I think it's 481 psychological insights to apply to a shelf edge barker, all to do with numbers. So numbers are really powerful things. Supermarkets are good with numbers. You have, if you go to Tesco, your club card, a pound is 100 points. 100 points, 100 club card points, it's a pound. But 100 points in the shopper's head seems much bigger than a pound, £1. Nectar's worse. It's 200 points is £1. Because you can suddenly get 200 points off. That must be loads. Nope, it's a pound. So they're changing the currency. They've introduced a new currency. And by bringing in this new currency, what they've actually done is make people value the points more over the actual money they're saving. And don't even get me started on savings from offers only if you've got a club card. That's a whole new different thing. So moving from paper to mobile, let's summarize what we were talking about. And if you want more insights, I'm not selling this, they're online. If you go to adcocksolutions.com, there's about 100 plus articles about shopper psychology. There's about 190 articles on LinkedIn about behavioral science and shopper psychology. But here's to summarize what we've just been talking about now for the last 18, 20 minutes. First of all, how do you get people to see? And this is a new insight. One of the most important things to the human being when it comes to looking is other human beings, specifically the face, eyes, and teeth, and mouth. That's what we look at. Is it friend or foe? So if you can have an image of a person in your communications, people will look at it. If that person is looking back, like the baby in the experiment, in the heat map here of the eye tracking, then you'll engage with it. If they're not looking, you will follow their gaze pattern. So when this experiment here was done, when the baby was looking out, people looked at the baby's face. Suddenly, when the baby's face was pointed to the text, far more people read the text because they wanted to know what the baby was looking at. So that's another way to get C involved. And have appeal. Have you thought through what the emotional appeal of what your offer is? Here's a good example that nobody actually wants money. So we work with the banks, as I've told you earlier, but nobody wants money. They want them what the money will buy them. The money will buy them the sports car, which might get them more mates. The money will buy them the bigger house to protect their family. The money will buy them the food and the sustenance to keep them alive. They don't actually want the money. They want what it gets them. So how can we make our coupons and offers more emotional by going beyond what they want, playing what we call the why game? Ask people why they want something until you get to the emotional reason why, and then market to that. My clicker's stopping at the moment. There we go. So then we have engage. Google cognitive biases. There's 140 of them. Use them to your advantage, but more importantly, so that you're not being manipulative, don't use the wrong ones in a negative way. You might have a great offer, but because of the way cognitive biases works, it completely works badly in your case because you've targeted the wrong bias or you've put it out there the wrong way. It's very important to do the cognitive biases in a way that really connects with people's brains. It's what we call processing fluency. The easier it is to think about, the easier it is to buy. Take a look at the process of redeeming an offer and buying a product. Are there things in there that are awkward, difficult, harder than they need be? Take them away, make it easier for shoppers. And finally, buy. You're all using numbers. Where do you put the numbers? Is there a science to where your designers put the numbers? There should be, but there probably isn't, because I don't believe there's a single course at university on planet Earth that teaches psychology and design. So with that, it's now 20 past, we've got a few minutes left. I'd just like to ask, are there any questions in the chat? And I'll hand the remote back to Abby to manage that part of the process.
You're mute. Okay, thank you to Philip and to Ian for taking us through the content today. Much appreciated and well done for keeping on time. We just click through to the final slide, I think, Philip. I think you've still got control.
I haven't got the remote anymore.
So seems like we've got a shy audience today. Looking at the chat, we're not seeing many questions come through, but we did have some questions that were sent through ahead of today's session. So I'm going to read those out now. First question is, this one is for Ian. what is the average redemption rate by category for mobile coupons?
Well, that's a very interesting question. It's still very new. We've got over 50 years of data on paper coupons, for instance. What we're looking at here is since basically the end of last year. And it's been heavily influenced by soft drinks and snacks categories. All I would say at this stage is, and I'll also emphasize that it's not an easy calculation where you used to print, let's say, 100,000 coupons and you got 4,000 redemptions. It was dead simple. That's a 4% redemption rate. What you have to build in here with digital is the activation and distribution route. And what it includes a lot of, we're seeing is the case study we showed earlier had augmented reality, but we're expecting retail media, in-store media to be a big player on this, and point of sale in store, where you can actually show how to claim a coupon. And in the case of one campaign that we've run this year, we saw an activation claim rate of about 68%. In old terms, that redeemed, because it was a free product and it was widely available, and it was desirable. Take you back to those terms again. We actually saw that it redeemed at over 30%. Now, compared with a paper version, we think that's probably 2-3 times more. So that's as best we can give you at this moment.
Right. This one's to Philip, I think. I'm going to pass it to you. It was always mentioned whether monetary figures to represent a discount are better than percentages. Feeling is that they're hard to comprehend. What's your perspective on this?
Well, the simple answer is we can't comprehend either easily, money or percentages, because as I said earlier, we haven't had money or long enough to. But however, that said, like I see what you said about Mark Ritson said it was always better than money. Up to £100, yes, because the money discount would be bigger than the percentage discount. But once you get above £100, the percentage becomes bigger than the money, or the other way around, sorry. So your brain just looks at the bigger number. So 10%, I'm gonna get this right. 10% off £100 is £10. 10% of £1,000 is £100. So sorry, above 100, use money. Below 100, use percentage. So Mark Ritson is right if it's under £100. Just go for the bigger number because our brains find it equally difficult to work out percentages or money.
Great. What is the most, this one's for Ian, what is the most efficient and simple way to manage care line coupons we send out for complaints, and what is best practice?
Very simply, it was a combination of what we call cash transfer and a coupon for print at home sent out by email. As I mentioned earlier, we're generally at just about to start trials for the digital version to replace print at home because the technology is tired now and not as widely as available. Cash transfer is a very good safety net for all types of resolution and can be used where it's not appropriate to send replacement coupon voucher replacement, and it's also very, very useful in international markets. So I would say cash transfer, and very soon the most cost-efficient method will be email to a complainant with a link in it to open up on their device to use as a digital coupon.
That kind of leads into another question that came up around this subject. When will coupons be available to reimburse consumers to redeem for a particular product via e-voucher or mobile? I think you alluded to a trial imminently about to happen with digital coupons.
We're planning. as recently as this week, we had a call, and we're planning to run 2 4-week trials. I would emphasise that before we put anything in the market, and we've been the same for 54 years in this country, we won't put anything out there until we're absolutely 100% sure it's secure. And what we're doing here is testing the security and compatibility that consumers like the way it's sent to them. And that's why we're putting two 4-week trials in, 4 weeks and 8 weeks, and then we'll come back with some results. We believe if everything tests successfully and retailers are comfortable with it, which is very, very important, we will be able to bring this to market before year end.
Great. One for you, Philip. You make a good point on making the end dates on a coupon larger. Is there any recommended runtime on coupons for high frequency grocery items such as cheese or ice cream?
It's 4 or 5 different bits of psychology can come into play here. Firstly, just by telling people it will end reminds them they might miss it. So even if it's next year, you're saying it will end. That works. Then there's, are you trying to get them to buy more? So then you need to start bringing in, is it something that they can't actually use? So would you really want to buy more fresh fruit that you can eat and it's going to go off before you can eat it? My simple answer is, don't worry about how long the end date is far away, because people won't read it. You're just telling them it's going to end. There is a statistic where our brain only retains 2% of all the stuff it sees and reads. So end soon is enough. Doesn't matter when soon is.
Okay, great. There's a question here regarding currently Tesco and Co-op is not part of the savi clearance and suppliers have to manage them directly with these retailers. There's a plan to bring them on board with your processes. I guess I can answer that question, is that as Ian mentioned earlier, we currently clear around 85% of branded coupons in the marketplace. So there are other clearance houses out there that are covering that 15%. I guess when it comes to retailers, we also cover the vast majority of the market as well. Tesco and Co-op are obviously the exceptions. The model with both of those is a direct deduct model. So the brands aren't actually having to clear those coupons with those retailers. We have relationships with both Tesco's and Co-op, and we have market feed on all of the redemptions that occur in those retailers that we host on our own proprietary platform called Promo Hub. So we do have full market coverage on those coupons. Not sure if that's answered that question, but we can pick that one up outside. One for Ian: will physical coupons like coupons at till continue to be popular in the UK, or is the trend moving towards digital coupons?
I would say the trend is definitely moving towards digital, but as I said before, I don't think paper will disappear completely. There's quite a movement in the United States from 55-year-old pluses that are forcing the issue through American state courts, so that if you went into an American supermarket and you didn't have a smartphone, you could still insist that retailer gives you a paper coupon to match the digital offer. Because you don't have a smartphone, you shouldn't be categorized as not able to qualify for the discount. So the movement in the US is quite big. Will it come to the UK? I don't know if we're quite as active in that area, but I still think there is a strong market for paper. For instance, we've seen since the pandemic was over, we've seen a return to a lot of experiential sampling at popular areas like stations and malls. And door drop, for instance, is proving very resilient. So paper's involved in both of those. We don't see that going away.
Okay. So we are almost out of time. There's a couple of questions here. I'll just answer one of those, and the others we will have to follow up with the individuals separately, I'm afraid. One is around when a digital coupon is going to be available and which retailers accept them. At the moment, digital coupons are currently accepted in Tesco's and Morrison's. We're in conversations with all of our retail partners around digital coupon acceptance, and we expect more to come on board throughout the course of the year and into 2025. So that just leaves me to say thank you to everyone for joining us. Much appreciated. If you can please leave your thoughts in terms of how you felt today, what you got out of it, what you'd like to see from us in the future, that'd be much appreciated. We'll be sending a survey around shortly with links to the presentation. Thank you to our hosts. Well, that's me. I'm not going to thank myself, but thank you to Ian and Philip, our presenters today. Thank you to everyone joining and contributing, and we hope to see you again soon. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you.